You're listening to Fresh Take.
You are listening to the Fresh Take Network.
What it is, what to do, welcome to Fresh Take. Joshua, Adam, William, Iverthon with the talented, sexy, the dangerous Devon here. It's Devon Seal. Devon, how's it going?
I am putting it together. Am I confused?
Putting it together.
Am I confused? A little bit. Do I know what's
We got
going on?
shows. We got
Kind of.
movies. We got another hour episode or so of the rundown. It's interesting. So we just saw Agatha all along. And I was more of the positive one. Devon's more of the realistic one.
Oh boy.
With things.
Okay.
But I would just say, I think this show it's a nice refresher on things. I think I like the vibe. I like the flow of the show. It's the most excited I've been about getting to the next week's episode in some time for a show. But then it's also like we're not going to be sitting here and having a 45-hour conversation like we would with Succession. Like the only real rabbit hole to go down is the Aubrey Plaza of it all, and who is she? And
yep,
there's the Enchantress side of things. There's the Morgan Le Fay side of things. Some people now are really convinced she's Lady Death, which is kind of where I am right now, that I think she's Lady Death.
Oh, okay.
Which she would be a great Lady Death.
Could be, yeah.
Aubrey
we're like 10 years too late for Lady Death if we want to be very literal with the characters from Marvel.
Well, Andy, our resident Marvel guy, he said this show is great, but I feel like it's 3 years almost too late.
Okay.
Which I thought was a great. You have her getting trapped in there, and they saying it was 3 years. So I guess too, like, it was 3 years she was there, and the snap happened after. So was Agatha? I wonder if Agatha was snapped beforehand.
Oh goodness, that's a great question.
So it's like if she was snapped and gone during the snap, and then she got trapped in this Wanda spell. So it's almost been like a decade of hell for her.
Ooh, you know what? That they haven't really quite described, and they probably haven't. But if magical beings are exempt from being snapped, if there was protections against being snapped, because you're right. But although I would say that.
Well, Wanda was snapped, right?
Wanda was snapped, and during the snap or the blip or whatever you want to call it,
we're calling it the snap.
I know, totally the snap. Agatha would have had the dark hold, so she would have been a little bit more powerful than she currently is. A lot more powerful than she currently is.
Yeah.
So would you be able to protect against that? Would you have seen it coming by looking into the future? If that's something that witches can do, it seems like it's kind of hinted at, unless it's just a cheap party trick. Peter felt it through the Spidey sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's impossible that people weren't prepared for it.
For a second, I thought you were talking about Peter, Deadpool's best friend. Like Rob Delaney. I thought you were talking about Rob Delaney. and maybe he could.
You know what? If there's like an anchor being of the MCU, it might be him, actually.
It better be him.
So you bring up a good point of her being snapped, being gone for, I think it's 3 years.
Yeah.
3 or 5 years? 5 years. It's 2020.
3 years. They said 3. Snap was 5 years.
That's the snap was 5. You're right. Yeah, the decade of hell kind of thing.
Could be like her getting back from the snap for whatever, the 6 months or whatever Wanda was in Westview. And then after that, everything happened there. The body was obviously that was Wanda's. That's why I'm thinking it so clearly that Aubrey is Lady Death, because she was tormenting her and letting her know that. But then also, this is my theory on it. Because she's either Lady Death or Morgan Le Fay, she's tormenting Agatha. If it's Lady Death, rent is due. Her time to die is done. But maybe because she was saying, because if she's Lady Death, and you would think that she could just kill her right away, right?
In the first episode, she said that she cannot kill her. Now I don't know if
she cannot kill her. So I don't if there is some rule
physically, like you actually cannot kill me, or if it's because if you do, there's going to be certain problems that are going to be had. I don't know I don't know what version.
And look, I'm just starting to get caught up on the magical side. I got Marvel Unlimited again this month, so I'm reading a lot of Midnight Suns right now. So I'm getting more to the magical side of Marvel right now. So as far as Mephisto and all the underworld stuff and Lilith and all that stuff, I am learning a lot about it right now. So I don't have enough. The rat and the wolf and all that, that's a group called the Salem 7.
Okay.
That I did just find out about. So they're coming after Agatha. I'm not 100% why. There's obviously some death. They called her a witch killer, right? So obviously she broke some code with a coven, killing witches in the past.
Yeah, so I just looked it up.
A reason they're coming after her.
I looked up as we were in the backstage portion of this show. And the Salem 7 are, from what I understand, they were the descendants of witches that she had killed in her coven. So she betrayed them, and then they're coming after her. Although Wikipedia says all 7 are the children of Nicholas Scratch and the grandchildren of Agatha Harkness.
Oh, Senior Scratch is the cat that she has.
They are humans with magical powers who can transform into fantastic creatures with superpowers. I don't know who Nicholas Scratch is, but I'm assuming he has to do with. Oh, it's an.
I think that the kid is a Scratch, because she's not hearing anything when he talks.
Like a descendant.
Backstory, descendant. I'm not saying the M word for him, because I think some people. I did think at first, I'm like, could he be Damien? I'm like, I hate this fucking show because now Mephisto is going to be back in our lives.
So I have 2 points, and you can answer both of them. Who's Damien? And then secondly, when he was trying to say his name, the letter M was drawn on his face.
I know.
I don't want you to get down to this.
We're back. We're back.
We're back in the Mephisto guessing game.
We're so back to the Mephisto guessing game.
Okay, so you'll have to refresh my memory. Why is Mephisto important?
He's the devil. That's why I don't know if there's a Damien or not. But
I thought Nicholas Scratch was the devil.
Is he? I thought Mephisto was.
Like Nicholas Scratch was actually the devil, and then Mephisto.
Okay, see, I have to learn on that, and that's okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'm thinking that the kid is Damien, obviously, which is the Antichrist, which is son of the devil, right?
The name Nicholas Scratch is an amalgam of colloquial and euphemistic names for the devil. Old Nick and Old Scratch, or Mr. Scratch, are all nicknames for the devil. So. Nicholas Scratch is the son of Agatha Harkness.
Oh, okay. Because maybe that's her son then. Because remember, she looks in the room of all that stuff there. So someone, maybe when she killed the witches, there's another layer of a curse on her that forbid her from remembering who her child was. So good research by you there, bud.
Hey man, Wikipedia comes in clutch once in a while. So Mephisto, all I'm doing is I'm just looking up like the first basically 2 lines.
Well, there was the rumor that it was going to be Sacha Baron Cohen.
Was Mephisto?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's based on Mephistopheles, a demon character from the Faust legend who referred to as Mephisto. He's an adversary of Silver Surfer and Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Also Spider-Man. Being
Yeah,
responsible for...
he brings Aunt May back to life.
He is responsible for Norman and Harry Osborn's respective transformations into the Green Goblin and Kindred.
Yep.
So basically, he's just there to
fuck with people.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which,
pretty much.
Fine.
Aunt May dies, and Peter asks, and he's about to like marry MJ, and then he asks, he wants Mephisto. He says, "I'll do anything to get Aunt May back," and then he either kills Mary Jane because of it, or he makes him forget everything in the past. One of those two things. It's been a while since I read that book.
It just says the loss of his marriage to Mary Jane Watson, considering their future daughter, Spider-Girl, is his arch enemy. Yeah. Mephisto often comes into conflict with Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Scarlet Witch, and other heroes. Being responsible both for the creation of the Cosmic Ghost Rider and the descents of Phil Coulson and Otto Octavius into villainy. Phil Coulson became bad?
Okay, I need to see this then.
Friggin' Wikipedia, man. Okay, so
I got a month to read all these books. I got to find that. I'm just doing the Secret Wars right now and Midnight Suns.
Okay. And so Midnight Suns, like we obviously know about the video game that came out that was pretty well forgotten a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think because it was an RPG, and I think people wanted it to be.
It was turn-based, turn-based strategy kind of thing.
Yeah, and I did the demo on PSN, and I think more people just kind of wanted it to be like an action RPG a little bit more.
It should have been what Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers game should have been.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So Lilith is in that game.
So we're getting like super deep into the magic stuff is what I'm hearing.
Super deep into the magic and the supernatural, yeah. Which, this stuff is more interesting to me than multiverses, to be honest.
Oh gosh, yes. I was gonna kind of bring that up actually. So are they hard pivoting? Is Disney hard pivoting away from multiverses with the Kang thing? And they're going to double down into magic.
No, because Secret Wars will still have multiverse because you're getting Toby and you're getting. I don't think that's unless we've seen Wesley now. I think Secret Wars, the big fight at the end there. I think it's going to just literally be anyone that's ever been in a Marvel movie ever will be in this final fight scene against Doom.
For Secret Wars, okay, and then
Secret
Doom.
Wars, yeah.
Doom fights all of them, or Doom has an army, or
Doom have the Doom bots.
And how's that different than Ultron? Does Doom and Ultron do they ever ally themselves with each other?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be that'd be a potential future.
Yeah.
Well, because the other thing that we're
the idea that sounds like in Doomsday is that more or less Dooms wins, takes over the world, and that makes the Beyonder kind of create battle worlds type of thing, right?
The Beyonder, is he what's his name in What If?
No, that's the Watcher.
The Watcher, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, there's a lot that has to happen in kind of a short amount of time now. Well, that's why, like, you and I have our cruxes with Marvel and setting stuff up. There's actually like a lot of stuff that needs to get set up. Like even the incursions with Cleo and Strange, like that whole storyline that was at the end of Multiverse of Madness needs to be cleaned up. Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up before we get to, and even in the end of Miss Marvel, with her being in presumably the X-Men universe that we know. With Spectrum.
Miss Marvel. Oh, yeah, because of Beast.
Spectrum meeting Beast, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff that Marvel has to clean up, which, it's great to get the supernatural stuff. And then, I mean, it does sound too like the thing that's very important to know about this was the bumper at the beginning of this. Because what did it say? It said Marvel Television.
Yes. Okay. Is that
So
the
that's
first?
important to know.
I was trying to wonder, is it the first instance of where it's come out that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, it is connected to the MCU, but it's not going to have as grand of a stage in the MCU as it was. Consider it kind of what Daredevil more or less was.
Well, I think
when it
people
was on
understand.
Netflix, right?
I think people are kind of starting to understand, like, if it's on TV, it's kind of optional for your viewing
Yeah.
pleasure. And then your mileage of the movies may vary depending on if you watch those shows or not, or paid attention to them.
This is going to make some people upset, but I did find myself in the hour and a half or however long these Agatha was. I didn't find myself enjoying this more than Deadpool.
It certainly made you ask more questions than Deadpool did.
Yeah.
Deadpool
and I just thought some of the acting was obviously far superior. I mean, Aubrey carries any scene she's in. It's like the kids, how the kids use the term mother. Her and Catherine Hahn were mothering all over this time at times. Like they were absolutely slain wherever they were.
I think those are some drag.
Yes.
Some RuPaul's Drag Race lexicon you're throwing there. So I appreciate that.
Considering, yeah, that when Aubrey blasted the door, I'm like, holy shit, Aubrey's a badass. I'm like, I'm definitely going to use this in the wrong context, but she is mothering so hard right now. And even when the scene in the beauty salon, though, and Catherine has this, we saw it back in Step Brothers or anything she's been in. She has this aura to her that takes up a lot in a room, that she has such a burst of personality in any scene she's in. So what makes Catherine Hahn so great. And in that scene in particular, she just delivered it so fantastically.
I appreciate her, like, I don't give a shit attitude. It's kind of like Tony Stark, but like dialed up to 11.
Good point.
The same kind of like hubris and pride, if you will. She sure is talking a lot of shit though for a witch with no powers, so we'll see how that goes.
This is true. So yeah, I mean, I'd give the first, like, IGN gave it an 8. I'm right about there, like a 7.5 to an 8 for the first 2 episodes. I think we're on a nice path. I'm asking questions. I'm enjoying. I thought the joke with the True Detective kind of intro.
Yeah, I got that hard.
Dutch show WandaVision. I'm like, okay, nice, well done.
Yeah, there's lots of kind of nice little nuances there, and you know what, like that kind of like 15-20 minutes was like rather enjoyable for her to pretend to be like this worn out mayor of Easttown, night detective, or no, sorry, night country True Detective type thing, grizzled vet, doing the desk job. You're right, or IGN's right, in kind of that the 2 episodes average out to be an 8. I was a lot less interested in the first episode than I was the second one. The second one actually moved the pace along pretty quickly. I thought the first one I was checking my phone a lot more, and in the second one I was kind of a little bit more dialed in, just because people were being met and powers were being discussed and the end point was being discussed when we move forward. I just want to clarify one thing with you. So the town of Westview got reverted back and everyone got saved. Did the neighbor not say that Agatha, or in this case Agnes, was relatively normal up to a few days ago when she started acting crazy, or has she been crazy since Wanda had left, which has been a couple of years?
It seems like they said like they just kind of played along, and that was like the first time they said she was kind of lucid.
Yeah, okay, so she's actually been like kind of like a shut-in for a number of years.
I think Wanda more or less said like play along with this, or I'll fuck with you again, more or less.
Oh, 100%. There's some kind of, and I was talking to my partner about this because she was watching it with me, and she's like, "Oh, why is she acting that way?" And I was like, "Well," and she's actually caught up as far as I am, minus Deadpool, so she knows everything that we know. The only reasonable explanation is that she was basically like the effects of the spell were still lingering. I'm not sure if
well, that's what Aubrey Plaza says. You have to. She's dead, and the Darkhold died with her. So the only way for you to get out of this spell is to rip yourself out. Now, that made me wonder, why does Aubrey's character care so much about her finding herself out? Because she just wanted to hurt her personally instead of seeing her in there, or because if she hated her so much, wouldn't she just want to see her tortured for the rest of her life as a civilian?
It probably has something to do with the Darkhold, and like maybe there's resurrection in terms of the Darkhold. Like the book comes back and is rediscovered from another witch. Like so. Okay, so let's get this straight. So Agatha had the Darkhold during WandaVision.
Yes.
Then Wanda, does she how does it end? Does she steal it from her? Does she she rips her powers away? She used
she took her powers away, made her forget. She did like the hokey dokey thing, and she took it away. And then the only reason she did it is to get Wicked and Speed back.
For sure, yeah, no problem with that. With Billy and Tommy, and then if we're going back to Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, she has the Darkhold, and then they end up destroying the Darkhold.
Yeah. Well, the Mount Wondermore collapses on her.
Oh yeah,
and that's why they have that thing. She was crushed. So we are to believe right now officially. This is as close as we have now to that Wanda is dead. I still don't believe it, but for now we have to be under the impression of because there's that big poof of smoke at the end there, like red burst of light when Wanda gets crushed under Mount Wondermore. So now we have to be under the idea now that Wanda Maximoff, at least presently, is deceased.
See, I always thought that red poof was maybe like her teleporting at the last second.
That's what I thought, and that's why I thought she was there, and then I thought she was messing with her with like, now this is all going to be kind of like a drama series. But we're going to get a True Detective and Mad Men and Sopranos or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I thought that part would go a lot longer than it did.
Yeah.
Which is probably why, although I enjoyed it, I just thought it kind of plodded along. I'm just at the point now where I just want things to I don't need to be handheld, and I don't want people to spoon feed me clues and whodunits and wink, wink, nudge, nudges. But I do want my shows to kind of respect my time.
Yeah.
And this is a conversation that I don't know if we're ready to have. I'm going to say it now in the case that it comes out later. I'm not really sure, other than viewership numbers and metrics that are able to be sold to shareholders, the idea of releasing 2 episodes on the same day with a combined runtime of 87 minutes is kind of lame. I don't really like the 2-episode idea. I don't like the 3-episode idea. Especially in the eyes of the creators, I think this episode would have flown much better if it was just one bigger episode. It was an hour long.
Disagree.
It was an hour. Let's call it an hour. Cut out 20 minutes. We listened to that goddamn song for 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Down, down, down. It's gonna be my head.
Oh my god!
It's gonna be my head.
Clearly,
down the witch's road.
Clearly, they didn't learn from the friggin' Acolyte.
Yeah.
That we don't want to hear chanting for minutes on end.
Down, down.
Yeah. When the power of one, the power of two.
And Kitty's just there she's so kitty.
That's actually that's a really good laugh. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I know I think it's Deborah something.
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Deborah Jo Rupp. She's such Kitty though. I can't not unsee Kitty.
When she was gardening, it was very much a Kitty-esque.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring up something about Kitty in a little bit here, and Red Foreman in a bit.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah, and a little subject we have that had to do with the Emmys. But to kind of wrap this up, I think we're in a good place. I'm happy where we are. I mean,
it's promising. It has the potential to go up.
It does. I don't know if I like this. I liked I like the idea of putting it out during like a prime time kind of spot. Like we're getting literally back to TV now. Like he's in a prime time cable spot of like airing at 7:00. I was fine with the episode dropping at midnight and you watch whenever, but now Disney obviously is now getting back to having kind of like prime time TV spots the way they did the Acolyte. But they don't do the Murderers in the Building, for example, right? Which, by the way, we're not going to get into it. Surprisingly, a good season so far of Murderers, like the best season since season one. I'd say so far. I'm back in. It's actually been a good season. It's actually been a good season of Murderers.
Every time I think you're out, they keep pulling you back in.
It's because of Martin, and I know it's actually a good season. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Like I woke up this morning, had my day off, got my oatmeal, got my coffee, ready to sit down and watch these 2 episodes, and I'm like, man, what the fuck?
I know.
This isn't on until 7:00.
There's actually something really enjoyable about watching like a TV show like that in the morning. Like I used to do that.
Oh,
with
dude, I love this for
time.
X-Men '97.
X-Men, Bad Batch, another good example.
Yeah. I mean, I watched some of this Aaron Hernandez show instead, which is not too bad so far.
Is it a documentary? Is it fictitious?
It's a true American sports story.
Is it supposed to be like Winning Time?
It's like the OJ. It's like the OJ one they did, yeah. So let's talk. So Agatha, where Devan's thumbs in the middle, I'm thumbs adjusted up.
No, I'm pointed up. I'm pointed I'm like
okay, you're pointed
45 degrees. I just think the 2 episodes is kind of lame, even though they use it to sell metrics.
Well, you know what the funny thing is, as far as comic stuff goes, because we're not we had to jump up a day early because Dev's got some fun things that he has to do this weekend. But we'll be back next Thursday more than likely, and then we'll have 2 episodes of the Penguin, and then the Penguin's going to come and it's going to be like Penguin. Anyways, Agatha, more than likely.
You mean Oz Cobb or whatever the frig his name is?
Oh yeah, it's not Cobblepot, right?
Yeah, apparently Cobblepot was 2 comic bookings. They wanted to make his name more realistic.
Oh god.
So his name's Oz Cobb.
Oz Cobb?
Oz Cobb. COBB.
Sure. So when we get this Green Lantern show, they're like, Jon Stewart's the Daily Show guy, so we just named him John Stew.
Yeah, basically. Although Jon Stewart Green Lantern and Jon Stewart the Daily Show are very different, so
very different. And I need my Jon Stewart Green Lantern because that's my second favorite superhero of all time.
He's definitely up there. That's a different story. We were talking about Marvel and now we're moving
on. Anyways, so also on Disney Plus this week, the best multiverse show that has came out in 5 years, Rebuild the Galaxy, Star Wars.
Yes.
Man. So not as funny as the past Lego Star Wars, but story-wise, fantastic.
I was a little disappointed that basically all the good jokes were in the trailers.
Yeah, that definitely disappointed me as well. This was much more story than comedy. So I was a little bit, I thought I'd laugh a lot more, although
yes,
I did laugh at the beginning. Is like with the Luke one is like, and then he became grumpy and died. I'm grumpy now. I'm gonna die.
There's tons of great little snippets of like slapsticky or like really ridiculous humor that pervades the show. I broke it up into 2 nights, and I just kept flip-flopping between, as you mentioned, like being like pretty happy, and then also realizing like, man, I am a serious Star Wars fan because I liked what they were doing. I respected it. I just I found out after I walked away from the show, I just didn't care about it. I had no investment in it. And I loved the jokes. I thought the referential humor was pretty great, although I'm getting really tired of blue milk shit.
Yeah.
Them, like the Jar Jar thing and the Ewok bounty hunters are all hilarious and they played out for really good laughs. I just walked out being like, you know what? I didn't actually need to see this. I didn't feel like I actually missed out on seeing it at all, even if, and I will give, as you mentioned, I'll give it a lot of credit for having like a poignant story, finding your place in the galaxy, action over inaction, coming together as a family, blah, 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 blah. And then I kind of realized, like, am I just looking for like the Star Wars inside jokes of this show? And I didn't really care about the rest of it.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah. And that's kind of where, like, that's where I feel like today, having watched it on the weekend, was like, man, like I could have just typed into YouTube all the Star Wars jokes, and I think I would have had just as much fun with this. And then I was like, well, then great. Like, am I being that kind of Star Wars fan that we see on Reddit or the internet who is and I'm gonna probably take some flack for this, who ruins Star Wars, and fans like that ruin franchises for other people. I'm not grumpy about this show. I'm not going on the internet about this show. I have no real downsides to this show. I'm not negative about this show. I just felt like it wasn't really for me as a fan.
Okay.
But I liked it. That's the weird thing, is I liked it. Like I have like I said, I have no complaints about it. I like the jokes. I just kind of was like, I just left.
You almost sound like a wrestling fan in like 2019 is like, and I think Star Wars fans have been saying this forever. It's like, I absolutely hate it. But that's why I love it.
I don't even dislike it at all. I just like realized, like, man, like there is a version of the Lego Star Wars franchise or this particular story that would pop with people like you and me, but it would have nothing to do with like the tales of the brother and being good versus evil. Like, and then I kind of realized, like, the things that we're looking for are basically just meme jokes that we could find on the internet.
I will say this about it. I did, while I was watching, I'm like, this is definitely directed more for kids, which,
of course,
it's Lego Star Wars, and that's okay, because there was a few times I'm like, that's not, gonna set my sense of humor, but like my nephew will find that hilarious, and I'm looking forward to watching it with him potentially tomorrow. And I'm interested to see like his eyes and what he likes and enjoys about it. It was still cool to see Darth Jar Jar, although we didn't get a lot of it. I did like the Sith that we got, and I mean, getting Hamill on it was obviously
huge,
amazing,
so big, which was great. This is a perfect way for him to be included in the franchise. The clip from the trailer, him describing the actual plot points of our Star Wars galaxy was hilarious, where he was like, my dad was good for like 5 minutes, and it was like, yes, like that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I kind of realized, like, man, I just want like 90 minutes of these kinds of things. But then I realized, from that realization, that I think I'm just describing Robot Chicken now.
That's a good point. Like I said, I do think the multiverse storytelling was good, because even like nothing gets in a lot of these multiverse, if you do this, the universe will be set back to normal, right? And this is like, no, like your universe will not be set back, but we can still make this one good. I like that there was consequences for messing up the universe, right?
They did a great job of explaining it.
Yeah, that like a lot of these things is like, oh, well, we can get things back to normal and nothing really matters, right? But in this is like, no, there is consequences now. Like, you're not going to go back to your world where, Palpatine is the emperor and all this kind of stuff. Like, this is where we are now. Rey is Darth Rey, and she's one of the leads, and your brother is who he is, and your planet is what it is, and everyone in your family is what it is. So I like that it had consequences to it. I thought Bobby Moynihan did a good job as JB, as Jedi Bob.
Barbarian Afol.
Barbarian. And I even kind of doing the flashback to everything that happened there. I like that there was at least consequences. I'd give it a solid 7. I think there's good pacing to it. It was a fun 4 episodes, but I did walk away being like, this was not as funny as I want. And maybe it's because I put a lot of hype onto this. It was almost, with how much hype and excitement I added to it, I don't even know if it could have lived to the expectations I had.
Well, the trailers were hilarious. The trailers were really well done. Yeah. And I think I'd only seen 2 of them, But then, as I mentioned a few minutes
too.
ago, like you walk out of that, I walked out of my living room, like to go get a drink of water, and I was like, wait a second, like I didn't laugh any extra from any of the jokes except for the ones I saw on the trailers, which was unfortunate.
Only one I did was at the beginning with they did the stuff with Lucas like, I'm grumpy, and I laughed at that. I'm like, okay, we're rolling, we're gonna be laughing this whole time, and I'm like, not laughing at all.
Well, there's also like little visual, like I'm so impressed with the Lego CGI and how they can you can basically freeze frame almost anything in the show and actually have it built out of real Lego. And they did this with the Lego movie where it was like, oh yeah, if you want to build the whole movie, it would have taken you like 11 billion bricks or something like that.
Right.
I think they missed a little bit of a cheap gag. Okay, remember in Lego movie when they always had far away shots, how they just made little Lego dioramas and then like made their own little special sound effects with people like boo 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 boo.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that they would kind of continue that comedy legacy from the Lego movie from Lord and Miller with this show. Like there's so many instances where the minifigures get to bend their arms up and down or sideways and they get to move their heads in different directions. I think what would have made it just a touch more authentic for me, or I guess, quote unquote authentic, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is if there were certain shots, whether it be flashbacks or the panaways that I was talking about, where they actually behave like Lego people.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think that would bring me back in to, paying more attention to the show, because I know that they know that this scene is exactly like if you were a kid with your dad's digital camera that was like 1 megapixel and you were trying to make stop motion animation films. I really like that about Lego. I love that about the Lego brand. I love that about like the ambience of the Lego movie. And I just wish that they continue that over. Like I also like, for as much as I'm impressed by everything in the movies being built by Lego, I still want to sometimes feel like this stuff is handmade. There's real care and attention to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So I'd still suggest, especially if you have, younger kids and they're into Star Wars, you want to get them to Star Wars. I still think this universe is a good way to initially get them into it. So I highly suggest that. As far as other watches go this week,
I don't know if I agree with that.
No?
I mean, if this is a kid's first foray into Star Wars, like I could not think of anything worse.
No, not this. I'm talking about all the prior ones as well. Just to turn it on, because sometimes they don't take. They just learn about the characters and then they have more interest to go within. So I think that's kind of fun for them to go. I don't know if I would have this as their first intro into stuff per se, but I think it's a fun. Yeah.
You have a much better understanding dealing with the kids in your life that you deal with, but there's still something about me where I'm like, man, like if or when it ever happens, like niece, nephew, kids, not kids, whatever, like when you turn 4 years old, you're sitting down, you can have any drink, any snack in the house that you want, and you're watching A New Hope from start to finish. There's no bathroom breaks.
It's tough, man. The live action doesn't work very well.
There's no bathroom breaks. There's no iPad time. Like you are sitting there and you are absorbing this, and we'll go from there. Because the original trilogy, like you could, like at this point in time, if you're a child born in the last 5 years, as some of your kids in your family have been. Sorry, 1 second. I just got to sneeze.
You get the sneeze. This is the joy of having live stuff.
Everyone
does the live stuff. And this is the stuff you get, but then afterwards we edit it all out. So
clearly not perfect. Okay.
I get the cue. I get the cue the minute now when I get to edit that out now. That's the cool thing now is we get this nice little timer right here.
I do like that.
And I get to say like, oh, that's what I want to cut that out. Anyways, continue because this will all be cut out now too.
With a franchise that's been going on as long as Star Wars has been now, I'm flabbergasted as to the overwhelming amount of choice when it comes to actually getting into Star Wars. If you're a 5-year-old kid,
oh God,
like I don't even know. Like, of course, we know where to begin, we know where to end, we know like what to watch, what not to watch. But we've had this. Star Wars has been in my life literally my entire existence. It came out in 71 or something like that. 73, 75, 78.
Let me see.
Something like that. Like, but we only had 3 movies and maybe a couple books. And then things kind of
77.
Okay, 77, 80, 83. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it's kind of spaced out all 3 years. But other than like the original trilogy, I don't even know how you even get people into.
Well, when we were kids, right? Our parents just took us to the rescreenings, right? That was like the big thing with the digital AVX change and all that kind of stuff. And now it's like, so here's the original trilogy, here's the prequels, here's the sequels, here's Clone Wars, here's Rebels, here's all the TV shows,
here's Bad Batch.
Here's Bad Batch. Like,
here's the Clone Wars that doesn't count, but even though it's technically like the best Clone Wars. Here's the lost season of Clone Wars.
Here's the games that you might need to play as well.
Yeah, you have Force Unleashed 1, Force Unleashed 2, Knights of the Old Republic 1, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Academy. I don't think
Outlaws will be in there.
You know what's really weird about Outlaws? I know we always end up talking about Marvel and Star Wars on this goddamn podcast, but here we go anyways. For like 3 weeks ahead of the release, I was watching so much stuff on it. I was watching Gamer Ranks videos. I was watching previews. I was watching the cinematic trailer. And I was like, damn, like, and I clearly knew like Ubisoft is going to fuck us. Ubisoft's going to fuck us. Don't trust them. Don't give in. Don't give in to your hate. Hate leads to suffering. Suffering leads to fear. Fear leads to whatever, right? And then all the reviews came out and people were like, you know what? It's okay. It's good, but it's not great. It's pretty good. If you played Assassin's Creed, people will know if they like it or not. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I know I would like it. I know that I would walk around these towns or these villages and I would like really just get to look at some of these different details and appreciate them. And then I kind of held off for a week, 2 weeks, and now this week I'm seeing more and more clips of people like, and don't get me wrong, like I am fully aware like the AI is not that good, the stealth sections aren't that good, the shooting's not that good, it gets kind of repetitive. I know there's pros and cons to this. Apparently, I don't know, there's a spoiler alert if you want it or not. It's pretty obvious, but like,
isn't there an Ubisoft subscription you can get on PS and Xbox too?
There's a subscription for everything.
Anyways, tell me the spoiler, but apparently I'm not gonna play this anytime soon.
I think I'm just gonna watch a YouTube video, to be honest. But Vader shows up.
Again?
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. Again. So that's where we're at.
That was the big thing that happened in Jedi Survivor.
Well, that was fun in Jedi Survivor. That was bananas in Jedi Survivor.
Man, that boss fight with the cool. Deborah Wilson character took me so fucking long.
That was pretty fun. That was
the first time I had to put the difficulty down because I was on the hardest difficulty and I kept on almost beating him. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I thought the frog was the hardest, but Vader, you're almost as hard as the frog. Ogo Bogo, I hate that frog.
The spawn of Ogo Bogo in the second one.
Oh, I hate that frog so much.
So then in the last week or so, I'm seeing all these clips of like what the game is actually like. And it's just like the AI doesn't look at you and it like runs around and misses you. And
it's not as much as open world as we thought.
Yeah. Then you know what I was like? So then, so for 2 weeks when the game came out, I was like, God damn, like I don't want to, I'm telling myself, don't buy it. Wait for a sale, wait till Christmas. And then this last week, like it shows up in a Donkey video. It shows up in Zero Punctuation with Yahtzee in it. And then it was like, oh yeah, you guys just confirmed that this is pretty janky with a fun skin on it. And I don't need to actually buy it. And now I feel way better about not buying it, even though the lead up, like the 2 weeks before, man, it was like putting it in my veins.
Well, and speaking about games, I guess we had the Switch leak. It looks very sleek, just like a Steam Deck, more or less, just a little bit like bigger screen and whatnot.
Well, I think at this point
have a better graphic card of equivalent to a PS4, I believe.
Yeah, it's got as much RAM as an Xbox S or something like that. But from what I
So that
understand,
Metroid trailer was probably for that. Then it was not for the original Switch.
I think so now at this point. I'm shocked that Nintendo is not doing anything that's like trying to reinvent the wheel.
If not broke, don't fix it, man.
But that's exactly kind of what, and you're right, like they even have like the same tab for the game cartridges. So it's going to be backwards compatible, which is great. But then at the same time, like, are these new games, are they all just going to be all digital? Are they going to be physically released, which probably will be? There's like some minor changes. I read about the slim Steam Deck. That's a great analogy. And then I was just going to say, I wonder if at this point in time, we're kind of in like a it ain't broke, don't fix it phase of just design.
Yeah.
The Switch has really kind of nailed it. When you want to go, it's a Steam Deck, or it's the same shape as like the PlayStation Portal. Like everything looks relatively the same. And the way that screens have just become so powerful and so clear, and you can make them so small, and the technology is so cheap now. I mean, even look at this iPad, like it's half a centimeter or whatever it is, 5 millimeters or something. And then when you don't want to play it in handheld, you put on your TV.
Do you think it's coming for Christmas? Do you think it's coming this Christmas,
no,
or do you think they're waiting?
God, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know why they would.
I think if you did, I think this week coming up is the last week. You gotta give at least 6 weeks before Christmas time for notification for this stuff.
Well,
people start buying Christmas gifts mid-October.
Well, American Thanksgiving is like the start of the season, so people are around that time. So you're right. Mid-October, late October, early November is kind of like the latest you would start, or the latest you would go, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm under the if it did, I mean, they have claimed that there'll be enough Switches for everyone. I just don't believe that. I worked at a Best Buy the summer that the Wii came out, and they claimed the same thing then too. They claimed, oh, there'll be enough Wiis for everyone, and there never was. And then I remember in the Boxing Day, at the last second, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we randomly got a shipment of Wiis and the Wii Fitness, and that was mental, man. That was anarchy.
My parents, when I call them, they're like, would you want to Switch for Christmas? No. Do we want to Switch 2 for Christmas? Not announced yet. Like, even they're trying to give me a Switch, and I'm like a 34-year-old man. Like, they know that they should get people Switches. Like, that's apparently the big thing for them this year. So same thing with the Wii. Like, it's just going to be, it's weird because it's not revolutionary to have a Switch 2.
No.
But in terms of the numbers, in terms of the ubiquitousness, that is the Switch 1. Like, what'd you say it was? It's like the highest. Is it the highest selling?
It's the highest selling console now. No, it's 2. It's about to pass the PS2.
Like, it makes total sense. It makes total sense why.
Yeah, I think they can string it out because you still have this Mario and Luigi game, which I think comes out next week, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
The Mario and Luigi game, you have this Mario Party game, and then you have the Zelda game. And then we'll see what happens with this Metroid game. I firmly believe that's the launch title for 2. So you have 3 big games this year to finish off for this holiday season. And then I think you go into mid next year and you kind of try to you kind of see what you do with GTA, right? I mean, the latest rumor on GTA now, I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, is that it's going to be delayed now until 2026.
Right.
But that decision won't be made from Rockstar until mid-May, apparently, according to some Reddit leakers. So to the point when we do our most anticipated, I had a few people ask with the latest GTA news, like, what are you guys going to do for your most anticipated list? I'm like, if someone wants to put GTA on their list, they are more than happy to. But if we all just want to put asterisks for GTA, I'm more than fine with that as well. I mean, Lord knows I have done so many lists with stuff that hasn't came out. Mickey 17, for example, right?
Yeah.
Which me and Adam both had on our list. And we just got the trailer September. right? And both of us had that on our list for something to come out this year. So it's gonna happen. So if you want to put GTA on there, go ahead. It is what it is.
Spoiler alert: it's probably not going to be on my list.
It's probably not going to come out. No,
but it's not even going to be on my list. Like,
yeah,
it's like how excited I would be for like Avatar 1. Like, yeah, it was cool. Spent $20
you and I
to go watch
you and I
it.
have also said we're bigger Red Dead people.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's not going to be the craziest, greatest video game experience of our lives, or the end game of, or the Infinity War of our video game careers. I just have other priorities than to spend.
Yeah, I need to know the fucking trailer for Judas, the release date for Judas. Ken Levine, where is it,
bro? I think
where's my release date for Judas?
I think you have to accept that just a lot of things get created as like concepts and then just don't. Like Star Wars Eclipse is a perfect example.
Star Wars, at the end of the day, rather Judas just come out. The last thing I want, we had the whole Inside Out story about Crunch at Pixar. And I think we knew this happened at animated studios, but this is like the first time I remember a big story about crunch at an animation studio. At least if I'm misremembering another time that's happened, and I know it happens, but just at the level that it was happening for Inside Out and all the terrible stuff that came out about Inside Out too.
Oh God! Well, we saw it with Naughty Dog. It's basically it happens all the time in anime studios. Like,
yeah,
it's a real thing, and then it's a big deal when Naughty Dog comes out and says like, "You will never pressure us again."
That's why I think if there is a Last of Us 3, they're not going to announce that shit until they know they can. Like, I'm sure they're working on Last of Us 3 or original title right now.
Of course
they're not announcing anything until they are good and happy about it.
Well, the thing is you have, like, only certain companies are allowed that privilege, right? There's probably 3 to 5 companies. And even the ones that we think should be on that list are probably not on that list because, as you mentioned, like, so day one patches are a thing now, right? Or week of patches, or several patches in the first week. God, look at some of these games. But what happens is when you're owned by an Activision or a Ubisoft or EA, those shareholders, like, they want, like, especially if you've announced a rough framework for when that game's coming out, they're expecting their stocks to go up. And then when stocks don't go up, like, people lose their jobs. And then what happens is while you're crunching this game, then people lose their job because it had to be delayed by 3 months. Like, you then have to put it out not because you want to, but because you have to because of business. And I watch a lot of these game documentaries from these content creators called Gamers with a V, GVMERS. And basically they deep dive the creation, the rise and fall of certain franchises or the creation of these games. And essentially, like, what happens is there's almost always there's like crazy middle management turnover, or the director of the game gets turned over because he's taking too long. And then these people, like these industry plants, get put into the games to help develop them and basically like push. And by the time it comes out to release a game that had a great idea or a great concept, it's really neutered into the ground. But the developers know this. The people who make the game know when they're putting out a 6 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. There is very little video game surprises anymore. And a lot of it has to do with like the business side of it. It has nothing to do with the creatives. It has to do with like, was this company able to implement this crazy technology they wanted in this game? Oh, it's 3 weeks before the game is supposed to come out. They have to yank this game thing out, but then by yanking this mechanic, it breaks this part of the game. Then they spend the next 3 weeks trying to fix this bug for it to come out for the first day. And then what happens is this game feels incomplete because shit got ripped out from here, it got ripped out from here, they took assets from here and smashed it in just to make it a little bit better. So Naughty Dog, basically 100% is Jenga. Only sometimes you get to add pieces.
Yeah.
And Jenga, like you have a different boss every turn that you play. So when I talk about like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 studios that probably get to do this by name, I think they're all owned by PlayStation. Naughty Dog gets to do this. Kojima gets to do this. Santa Monica gets to do this. Because Rockstar's not going to. Rockstar can kind of do it. They have been doing it, but they've also been supporting. They also created essentially the most successful media entertainment platform of all time.
Didn't Project Red have like really bad crunch for Cyberpunk?
Oh, absolutely. Then look what happened. It was a piece like
I know.
The hype for Cyberpunk, we were out of our friggin' chairs. We were like 12s out of 10 for Cyberpunk, and then it came out and it was like, do not buy this. Under any circumstance, do not buy this game.
Same with Watch Dogs is another case. I don't remember the crunch talk of Watch Dogs, but I remember that was the same as like, this looks unbelievable. And then it was like,
I had it pre-ordered and I literally skipped the pre-order. I didn't answer the phone when they're like,
for Watch Dogs?
Yeah. I put $5 down, which was like the EA minimum, right? I was already there buying another game. Oh, I'll put $5 for Watch Dogs down. And they called me like, oh, you want to pick up I just ignored them for like 2 weeks. But Watch Dogs was an example of like a crazy cool concept and then like just basically zero execution on it.
Yeah.
And that franchise is basically dead after 2 games.
Pretty much.
So like Rockstar can kind of do it, but it's only because they're making $200 million a year off of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
If you were a company that only made 1 or 2 games ever and you're trying to pull this shit, like, and you're trying to pull like waiting for the perfect time to release your magnum opus, it would never happen. And the reason why Santa Monica gets to do it and Kojima gets to do it is because Sony basically has 15 developers, and at any one point in time they produce one of the greatest games ever. Like look at Astrobot. Astrobot didn't just, I'm not going to say save Sony, not even close. Astrobot did not just, become a huge seller for Sony. It gave Santa Monica probably another month of development time.
Yeah.
Because the bosses at Sony were like, you know what? We're good right now. We're good for the next 2 months with this Astrobot sales. We don't need anything from you for the next little while. And they go, okay, thank you.
All right. Let's wrap it up in a bit really quick here with the last few kind of things here. Did you get a chance to see Rebel Ridge?
I did not. I heard about it a little bit on a podcast, but I just want to know what you have to say about it first. Like,
man, the best way I could put it is it's dad action at its finest. They need to put on Amazon or Netflix or Max or whatever. They need to just put like a subcategory of dad action.
Your dad will like this. ...
Yes, your dad. I mean, from the creators or the people that liked The Beekeeper comes Rebel Ridge. It's more or less just kind of Rambo. It's kind of one of the things I've got. I mean,
so like leave him alone kind of thing.
Yeah, like it was it was 30 minutes too long. There's stuff I would take out of it. Like Nick watched it. He's like, it's just too long. I'm like, then I watched him like, yeah. And Shorty J saw it and she was like, yeah, like it could go like 30 minutes less.
Right. Okay.
But it's good. Like it's perfectly fine to watch with the fam. It's harmless fun.
Yeah.
And it's got Don Johnson. And that's the selling point for a lot of people. It's like, oh, I like Don Johnson. Who I think Don Johnson's one of those people who's just like, I don't know if anyone just says like, oh, screw Don Johnson. I mean, during football right now, you see this Dr. Odyssey ad a lot.
Okay.
This Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson, like, it looks like The Love Boat, but it's like Grey's Anatomy type of mix. That's kind of like what the show concept kind of looks like.
Love Boat?
Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't think this show is for me, but this commercial kind of hooked me, so I'll watch one episode of it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, you gave it a chance.
It is also so weird to see Joshua Jackson with how old he is now, because I just think of the little kid that was Charlie.
Charlie
Conway.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I knew who you were talking about, but I just couldn't, like, I was like, what?
And then the Emmys, really quickly here. Comedy prevails. Comedy wins.
That's
which
a weird. Comedy
it's
kind of
true.
prevails, like, and then it does, and then it doesn't. Like, I don't know.
This was the whole
weird
debate all night. Hacks took some shots of the Bear afterwards. One of the main actors from the Bear, from Hacks, afterwards left a tweet saying, "Fuck the Bear." Afterwards,
Really.
which I will be honest, I was shocked because I did think season 2 of The Bear was the best show on TV for 2023. Now, the best show this year, I think, has been Shogun. The problem was, like we said, is that FX wanted to split both of these out because they thought they could corner the market and get both of them. I also think the reason that it's a comedy is because it's about half an hour to 35 minutes, which typically is where you put a comedy. There's not many 30-minute dramas.
Right.
So I think that's where it is. So the question will be next year for season 3, will the Bear be in drama instead of going through this cavalcade of going in the comedy side again, and the whole debate of and the Levies took a shot also at the Bear at the beginning of their monologue about it not being a comedy. So it does seem like people that are in comedy were not thrilled. People were mad that in the comedy side of things that Jeremy Allen White beat out guys like Matthew Berry or Martin Short or Steve Martin. So there was still some debate afterwards.
And he's like literally the least funny character of the whole goddamn show.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is, so Gene Smarts beat out Io. And Io's by far the funniest part of the show, or cousin, who did win.
Well, you kind of have to have both of them to play off each other because she's the straight man. So I do want to give Io Debris credit for that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to beat Gene Smart, though. She's a freaking legend.
Oh, you're telling me. It's so I don't like this is like we've been talking about this friggin' thing for like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. Like,
yeah.
How do they get away with it? That's what I want to know. How does the Emmys not step in and be like, you guys are in the wrong category? Like, you need to.
Well, it too, because I do wonder, and I came on here, maybe, but I did come on here and I said this season of Hacks was one of the best shows on TV this year. If you remember, I came on immediately and talked about the finale, and I beated the drum of how awesome it was. And I know when we had that conversation, you had dictated to me that was a show that you had interest in that just hadn't gotten to yet. And now I do wonder how much this will bring up viewership of a show like Hacks, which is absolutely brilliant, and heading into a really interesting fourth, maybe final season of where it can go.
I think the people in the town said it was going to be 5.
Okay.
So I don't know if that changes anything, but they have the ending pitched, or it was pitched as part of the sale, and basically it's already all kind of figured out. So
perfect. So yeah, I'm incredibly happy for Hacks. I text our group, and with all respect, I think Adam knows movies better than anyone.
Oh yeah.
I think I have the TV side down better than anyone in our group. With how much TV I digest, I think I have a side of what is currently on the TV pulse of things. And as also when I saw Hacks win the writing, I was like, it was kind of like when we saw the shift for that Oscars with Parasite. It's like, okay, something's shifting here all of a sudden. I can't remember who the Oscar favorite was that year. But I like something is shifting here, and it feels like Hacks is gaining some momentum. And then Gene, I don't know if it was after or before the Gene beat out Io. And then, yeah, I was like, there's a momentum shifting happening here. There was never a time I was really concerned that Shogun wasn't going to win.
Well, there was no competition. Let's be honest.
I thought maybe The Crown for maybe 2 seconds was going to win.
Sure.
But Shogun, Anna getting her award was great. So I think kind of what we thought. Baby Reindeer and Shogun getting the awards that they got, and then the Hacks was the big surprise for everyone, and then the Daily Show. They can't keep on getting away with this. Poor Jimmy Kimmel. He's never gonna get his Emmy, is he?
Wow. It's Daily Show or John Oliver. Like, take your pick. But
now John Oliver is against SNL and like original scripted show. So
I don't get
they got rid of John Oliver. So like Seth Meyers or Jimmy or even Colbert could be like, okay, it's our chance now. And I think if it's not going to be the Daily Show, then it would probably be Colbert. So I don't think Jimmy Kimmel ever will get it.
Well, the other shitty one was who won for outstanding supporting actor in a drama series. So Billy Cudrup in Morning Show beat out.
Oh God, that was
beat
so
out
bad.
Our boy Yabushige.
Yabushige.
Todanobu Asano.
That was so bad.
Which is such a weird,
dude, when someone from the morning show, I've talked on here in some sports pods where my neighbors can audibly hear me doing like yelling during some sports momentum wins or losses and be like, is everything okay? I don't think I've audibly let out a laugh as long as I did when someone from the morning show won an acting award.
Well, it's just like what Yabushige represented for the show itself. Like, I cannot think of, maybe with the, and I'll put Succession to the side because I think they all kind of fit that role. I have never liked a character more in any media I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
True.
There are so many characters that you were designed to hate, and then when they get their just desserts, their karma, their whatever, when they get shot in the back of the head, or when you betray them and you know what I mean? Like when you do the justice that they did to you kind of thing, and you put them down and you laugh, like that's one kind of thing, right? You love to hate them. Yabushige was the opposite. Like, I loved him because he was shitty.
Yeah.
And then continually proved that he was shitty and had so much personality, and until the very, very end of the show was just so on board with him, and I want him back so bad. I know that's not going to be realistic. So I can't think of any other characters that I felt that way about, and I'm sure maybe there's a couple that come off the top of my head. But in Mad Men?
Yeah.
I think that's very much like, it was very much like a time thing, because when he came in, like when he started at the firm, when he was like 24 years old, he was like this young hotshot, too cocky, and that's why Don didn't like him, right? He thought like he kind of knew everything and owned everything. But especially near the latter half of the series, the last 3 seasons in particular, Pete comes across as a guy like you don't have to like him, but you want him on your side in your company. And he kept proving time and time again how valuable he was. And so this wasn't really like a Yabushige thing where like I like Yabushige being a friggin' slippery eel. I respected Pete because he was useful, not because I liked him.
Maybe Christopher? But it's been a while. I need to do my Sopranos rewatch. It's been a second.
Oh, I have to. I was hoping that was going to be my summer watch, but time just got away from me.
Yeah, me too. Then there's a really good doc on right now. But I probably have not seen Sopranos since it ended. Same with The Wire.
Wow.
It's been a while since my Wire rewatch either. So both of those have to happen soon. But anything last year before we get to our final 2 quick subjects here?
So we're talking about multiverses and you talked about Star Wars and stuff like that. We talked about this briefly at your place 2 weekends ago. The the Terminator anime.
You saw that.
Tackles the time travel in a way that's very similar to that Star Wars thing, where it like really validates a lot of the franchise and it makes things make a lot more sense. So
I've heard good things about the anime.
It's really well done, and then like the ending, because they make a choice, right? Like it's not about it's not even about if it's good or bad. It's just if you like it, what they did or not. So
Right.
I thought it was great. And then at the ending, I wasn't sold on, but like that's just me. But they did a really good job of the time travel explanation for once, and so now it really kind of put the rest of Terminator kind of into a different perspective with it.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you some basic questions here before we get out. So the one thing the Emmys did was cool is show these different settings of all these different eras and stuff like that. But the one they showed was best TV moms and best TV dads.
Oh man,
I want to compile a list here really quickly of our best TV moms and dads, and that's where I come back to Kitty and Red. Okay. I think number one TV dad. I'm wondering if we're in agreement in our lifetime for the best TV dad. I personally think it's Uncle Phil.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in agreement with that.
So okay, Phil. you mean our lifetime is in from
what we've watched for TV.
Like we had to grow up and watch it the first time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like George Jefferson is not.
No, we never saw him. Really?
Yeah. Okay.
We saw reruns, but
Al Bundy.
Yeah, Al Bundy, Red. You could do Phil Dunphy if you want to, like that kind of. But I would say Uncle Phil, Carl Winslow.
I will see your Uncle Phil, and I will raise you Hal from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yep, I'll give you Hal. I was thinking
I don't know. I gotta watch some of these. So the thing is, like,
I know.
Oh, nope. Okay, Mount Rushmore, Bernie Mac show.
Yep. Okay, give me Bernie. Okay, so we have Uncle Phil, Hal, Bernie.
Some of these characters I need to rewatch as an adult because what may have stuck out for me as a kid or what at this point in my life, I want to be able to watch these shows and agree with them in terms of their parenting philosophy or how they treat their family or how they treat their kids.
It's funny too. I was having this debate with my sister. Like, Mr. Feeney's not a dad, but he kind of was to us.
Well, he's kind of Sean's dad in a sense, like
kind of, yeah, right. Like, but Feeney, I look at him like a father figure for growing up. Like I looked at him as a father figure growing up.
Feeney is in the conversation, but he doesn't count. He's like a asterisk of like if you're talking about like supporting figures, like Feeney's definitely up there. Alfred from animated series is up there. I'm trying to think of what other like shows there would be that we could like really. Those two like every Alfred basically would be in the same the Feeney zone.
And then they make the pivot to the moms and Viv again. I mean, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv.
Was Aunt Viv that good? Which one? Yeah. Wasn't there two?
That's the one I'm wondering.
Yeah, you got to pick one.
They showed the first Aunt Viv on the graphic, not the second Aunt Viv.
Ooh. See, the thing about like Kitty and Red, like
Kitty's up there.
They're
Red's a fun TV dad to look at, but I don't think you'd want him to be your dad.
But is he wrong?
Maybe at the same time you would. No, he's not. He's tough love.
That's what I kind of mean, though. Like, Red is the kind of guy who is kind of always there for the kids.
Yeah.
He actually does things for them. He'll bail people out. You can count on him. He's reliable. I think he just is trying to get them like on their own feet. He's actually trying to raise them a little bit by now the way he does it's a total different discussion. But he's not a deadbeat. He's not like the kind of dad who like kicks the door open, cracks a beer, lays on the couch and watches TV for 6 hours.
Homer?
Like he's actually, Yeah, well, Homer is even like, basically. Like I've been rewatching King of the Hill and it's kind of like a weird. These like I think I'm on episode or season 3 right now. I am having such whiplash over Hank being like a relatively average guy that we could relate to and being batshit crazy, like you should have been arrested 4 or 5 times already. And I don't know if that's but somebody like Dale to his kid is actually like there for Joseph, which is kind of
Yeah.
weird. But I'm not saying I don't relate to Hank, but there's also so many like Hank-centric episodes that make him fly off the handle or like do weird, dumb, angry stuff that like embarrasses himself or his family that a normal person wouldn't do and go that far with. So I'm like, is he a good dad or not? Now I think it kind of gets settled out like later on in the show, like when they really find their footing.
Yeah.
But I've had real King of the Hill whiplash. And it's not saying it's not a good show, but him as a good dad's kind of weird. I don't think he's on the list.
And then Marge is a mom.
I mean, the problem is I haven't seen Simpsons in 20 years, so I couldn't tell you what she's like at all. Like, is Lois a good mom?
No.
So, and like the thing that I think about, especially in the later seasons of The Simpsons that I watched, was that Marge was always doing something different or taking her away from like herself away from the family. Like she was a cop and she was a gambler and like she got the implants. True. Like I'm just not like I think she's a fine mother, but is she on the Rushmore?
Oh, by the way, speaking of that 70s shows, I think Bob was a good dad to Donna.
Bob Pinciotti, yeah.
Yeah, Bob was a good dad.
Yeah, see, I think Red and Bob are both good dads.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, like, and I've had this conversation with my parents a lot when they were hard on me when I was younger. Like, I look back now and I'm like, wow, thank you for doing that for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this happens in that 90s show when Topher, if he does ever show up. I think he does.
Topher's not really on it. He just got a job at Skywalker Ranch.
Crazy. Good for him.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is if they'll ever come back in the show with him and be like, you know what, thanks, Dad, because you really like. Or is it
they just did that with Donna and Bob. So they did it with Donna and Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Like, but Bob's also like a secondary character. If we're talking about like main dads, like, does Master Splinter count?
I'd say so. Yeah, for us.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Brings it back to James Avery with
friggin'
full circle.
Yo, Sandy Cohen.
Oh yeah,
no, he's Cohen's the Rushmore. Sandy Cohen's a Rushmore dad.
Yeah.
For Sandy Cohen is basically Red Foreman minus the ass jokes.
And that's the flip side with One Tree Hill because Dan Scott's like the worst dad.
Yeah, 100%.
He's the worst dad.
Yeah, Sandy's on the Rushmore.
Perfect. All right, and then we're going to get out of here. This is the new edition we're going to have on here. We're bringing back one of my favorite things was Song of the Week. So that Devin can get us on, I can get us on, and then we're going to put a playlist onto Apple Music and to Spotify.
Okay.
And this will be a little bit shorter this year for 2004. But we'll build up a playlist of songs that Devin and I like. And then at the year's end, you'll have a kind of a playlist of songs that we've liked. I would generally like them to be newer songs, but if they're older songs that you're listening to at the time, that's fine. But just for right now, let's do newer songs. So what do you got, Dev?
Oh, like if you're like in like a yacht rock kick is like you could
yeah, but right now I'd like to have a newer song.
Okay.
So what's like a newer song that you really listen to?
I just want to check when this album actually came out. So I have an album that came out in 2023. Does that count?
Yeah, it's fine.
1 year ago. Okay. So
sure,
it's the new Chemical Brothers album. And it's called Live Again.
So what's the song from there?
Live Again.
Live Again. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going with a Toronto rapper that I've really enjoyed. Kind of got famous on TikTok. Connor Price and Walker Hayes, Smoke. I'm really enjoying this one right now. So those are our two first introductions on the list. And as I said, we'll be building it up as the pods move along. But that'll do it for us for this one. We'll be back next week to talk about more Agatha, to talk about the Penguin, and who knows what else. So For Devin, I'm Josh. Until next time, folks, cheers and enjoy the day, people.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh Take Network. Follow us on social media platforms at Fresh Take 42.